Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils St. Patrick's Day. Welcome to Game Day Live, presented by the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network and the Primetime Radio Studios, along with Crew Brew. Welcome to Game Day Live, as we are here to get you set for New Jersey Devils hockey as they take on the Columbus Blue Jackets in the great state of Ohio. Welcome to all fans watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever it is you get your podcasts. My name is Vinnie, Parise, and I'm here with my good friend Shorts Guy, who is all ready to go celebrating his Irish heritage. Shorts?
Yes, I am.
How we doing?
Doing good. I would not call it the great state of Ohio. I've been there.
I love Ohio.
I
Most
don't know.
people
Maybe
don't.
because maybe because you're a Midwesterner by birth.
That's probably
just
it.
like the Midwestern region, the Rust Belt region.
Yep.
Ohio
sucks.
I've been
I get it, but
I've been to Columbus and I've been to Cincinnati, and I took a bus to Columbus and I flew to Cincinnati. So that's how I got there the two times I went there. Cincinnati was a ton of fun. Columbus was part of a 75-hour odyssey where we left on the bus like midnight Saturday and a Sunday, and we got back to the arena Monday morning at 7 a.m. So, I don't know. I wouldn't call it the great state of Ohio, but that's just my opinion. But it is my and your lovely Katie's and anyone of Irish heritage's cultural day. It is St. Patrick's Day. Check this out. It's going to be, I'll try to show you. I got my Guinness in my Guinness glass, and it's impossible to see because it's lightly on the back, etched with my last name.
Wow.
From the Guinness factory in Dublin when I was there. It's, hey, cheers. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And the Devils are playing tonight, and they need to win.
That's amazing. I wish they were wearing green. I don't understand why.
Like behind me and both spots.
Yeah, and they even have a road green that they can wear. That you might remember that alternate from a couple years ago. The Paul Mary Hall years where it was the white jersey.
Oh yeah,
I actually wore it on St. Patrick's Day in Chicago on Saturday. It's like a white jersey. The shoulders are red. Some guy rolled down the window and yells, "Jack Hughes sucks at hockey" at me while I was wearing it. I just stared him down. He's probably a dumb Blackhawks fan. But, it was just very fun rocking that around the city. And I love that it had the shade of green, and the Devils, they run with the green. It's been a while. They haven't worn anything with green in a long time.
No, it's been, man, I can't even remember when they last wore those.
Probably pre-Jersey. It's
got to be pre-Jersey.
Probably killed it.
Yeah, I want to say it did. I know, and this is just anecdotally, I have no evidence to back it up, but the first reverse retro with the green, I think if they brought that back, fans wholesale would absolutely lose their minds, because that was one of the better reverse retros that they came out with. Yep. I was lucky enough to be able to get it. They make a very, very, very small number of Devils jerseys, and it's hard to get. I got to consider myself lucky that I've gotten some of the, two of the hardest to get, between the reverse retro green and the Stadium Series one. But yeah, I think this one in particular, fans would absolutely lose their minds if they brought back. It just seems to be that is ultra popular. It's one of those jerseys that they'd be stupid not to, but of course we're not part of their marketing team, and their marketing team, well, it speaks for itself at times. So, but yeah, you know what though? We have a game tonight, and we have to win, and everyone should have some drinks tonight, and everyone should come out to the game on Saturday and have some drinks with us too at American Whiskey. But we got to play the BJs we got to play the BJs tonight. AJ Visco. I dig that the green jersey. This was part of the whole Adidas thing. Adidas had a lot of fun jerseys like this, and this is I have one. I think I'm going to wear it Saturday if I go to the game. That's my thought.
Absolutely, you should. On this St. Patrick's Day, the Devils, who are hanging on to their playoff spot, They have a 7-point lead on the playoff line.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, yeah, it's a 7-point lead on the playoff line. The Columbus Blue Jackets have been slumping lately. They are 5-5-0 in their last 10 games, but they've lost 3 in a row. And they were firmly in a playoff spot looking real good math-wise the
Mm-hmm.
last time the New Jersey Devils played them. And, of course, the Devils at the Rock, they had one of their best games of the season against the Columbus Blue Jackets a couple of games ago and cemented themselves where they are. Now the Devils, I would say it's fair to say that they need to win it again because the New York Rangers are climbing. And now the Montreal Canadiens are a team to worry about because they can't catch them in the Metro, not being a Metro team, but they can
Mm-hmm.
impact the wild card if the Rangers continue to stay hot and the Devils just kind of float around the way that they have been. I mean, the Devils also are 5-5-0 in their last 10, but they've won 3 of their last 4. So, trending up a little bit are the Devils, but that game against Pittsburgh, and here's the thing about Pittsburgh, people are going to look at the standings for the Penguins and see they're 28,
Mm-hmm.
31, and 10. They've been bad lately, but they've won 4 in a row. They're doing that thing they did last year
Yeah.
where they look like a team that probably will and should be a lottery team. And then Crosby goes on a crazy tear, and they end up picking like 8th instead of 3rd. And the Devils were a part of that. It happens sometimes. I wasn't too mad at the Penguins. Like, yeah, I want to beat the Penguins. They stink. They're not having a good year, but they
Mm-hmm.
caught them at a really bad time, and they make them pay in that one.
Yeah, agreed. And the Blue Jackets laid an egg against the Rangers on Saturday night.
Yep.
Losing 4-0, and historically Columbus has been a good home team, but they
Mm-hmm.
didn't show it that night. So we have to hope that trend continues. And but then again, this is the NHL. So talking about that Pittsburgh game, yeah, it sucked. We lost big, and for anyone that watched Game Day Live, you saw Sam Wu on his own because both Vinnie and I were busy. I don't know what you were doing, Vinny, but I was going up to my alma mater, Sacred Heart, to watch them unfortunately lose. We can talk about that later. But if you look at the weekend, though, on Saturday and Sunday, so this is just so everyone's annoyed about we lost Pittsburgh. First of all, our record against teams like Pittsburgh is terrible this year. I think that's safe to say. I mean, look at that Western Road swing when we lost to San Jose and the Ducks.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at some of the other scores from the weekend. The Golden Knights lost to both Buffalo on Saturday, 4-3, and they got shut out by the Red Wings on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I use that as an example because this league is just wild because the Rangers go on to beat Columbus 4-0 on Saturday, and they lose to the Oilers 3-1 on Sunday. So this league is wild where you can, and the Panthers lost to the freaking Islanders on Sunday. Point being is anyone can beat anyone in this league. It's the NHL. This is the best league in the world, and that's the point of it. What up, Joey B? And so, yeah, it sucks. We lost to the Penguins. We should have beat the Penguins. We needed those points. You got to win tonight. The Devils historically have been better against teams that are better than them or at the same level as them all season long. The majority of the games, I want to say 75%, but don't quote me on that, of the games left in the season are against playoff bound teams or higher. I think that bodes well for the Devils with the way that they've showed that we play this season. Tonight being the big one, it's the Blue Jackets. We're fighting for that same spot. It's one of those 4-point games. We talk about it all the time. It's, man, they have to show up tonight. And we were talking on the big show, and we're going to throw this out to everyone that's in the chat now. I'm going to throw it out to you, Vinny. Jake Allen or Jacob Markstrom?
Right now, I'd go Jake Allen.
As would I.
Markstrom, he was hurt. If he wasn't hurt and he was just slumping, I'd say let him run it. Let him figure it out. But because there's an injury has to do with it, and nobody's going to tell me an injury doesn't have to do with it. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm of the opinion injury does have something to do with it. It's since he came back from injury, he's been not good. Before his injury, he was outstanding.
If people want my take from playing between the pipes and being injured in my lifetime, not at the NHL level, obviously, I'm never going to claim that. Go watch or re-listen to last night's episode for the big show. An injury screws you up. An injury will change the way you play until you feel comfortable with your body again. And unless you've been in that position, it's difficult to tell that, and it's difficult to understand that. His injury, especially lower body like that, like I've injured my knees, I've injured my groin. Until you are confident your body is able to handle the workload, you're going to play a little bit loose, or excuse me, you're going to play a little bit tight, and you're going to be worried about re-injuring yourself. So you're absolutely right, Vinny. That injury is a lot to do with it.
It has a lot to do with it. I agree. And if you look at the remaining schedule for the New
Mhm.
Jersey Devils, I believe I saw on X today, Twitter, that they have the easiest remaining schedule in the National Hockey League in terms of
The Devils
opponent
do?
winning percentage. Yeah. And I'm looking at it, and it's hard to think that that was a lie based on what I'm seeing as their upcoming opponents. So they have the Blue Jackets tonight in Columbus.
Yeah.
Then they come home
Playoff
for
team.
3. Yeah, but they're not in a playoff spot right now. A lot
But
of teams,
potential, but fighting for it,
yeah,
fighting for it.
outside of Winnipeg, every
Mhm.
team they're playing is either just fighting for a playoff spot or like way out. Other than Winnipeg, nobody is a lock to make the playoffs. Minnesota might be a lock, and Ottawa might be too. But like they still a bad 3-game losing streak, they'd be in trouble.
Fighting fighting for can be worse than someone who's a lock.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, there's also some real bad in there, and there's a lot of home cooking. They have the Blue Jackets on the road tonight. Then they come home for 3.
Yep.
Calgary, Ottawa, Vancouver. Then they hit the Midwest. They're coming to visit me in Chicago next Wednesday.
Yes, they are.
Um, and that's, the Hawks are terrible. They're okay on home ice, especially against good teams, so the Devils need to come prepared. But then they
Uh-huh.
got Winnipeg and Minnesota, 2 good teams, and then they come home to play Minnesota in the second half of a home and home. Then let's look at April. Dude, they have 1 road game in April. They end the
I know
season with
everything's
1,
home.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Minnesota game, technically March 30th. 6
Mhm.
of their last 7 games are at home.
Oh,
The only team in April holding a playoff spot today is the New York Rangers, who just earned their playoff spot last game.
yep.
They weren't in a playoff spot going into it.
And
So
speaking of
it's
that
on them.
Ranger game, speaking of that Ranger game,
11
guess who on
or
this pod? Guess who on this podcast is tentatively slated to play on the Prudential Center ice immediately following that game?
I'm going to go on a limb and say you.
Me,
Oh,
Team
that's
Colin
amazing.
White. I'll announce more later. When we get closer to that. But yep,
You're going to have to keep watching Game Day Live.
yes, you are.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
gonna be
wait
a
to
good
hear
time.
more.
I'll tell you off
And
air. I'll tell you
what
off
is that?
air.
Okay, Vinnie Parise privilege. That's an early game for the Devils too, a 12:30 game. So you'll be playing. Well, no more spoilers. We're done with that for
Yep.
now.
Yep.
And then Boston, Pittsburgh, New York Islanders, Boston again, Detroit. These are teams the Devils should be able to beat if they want to make the playoffs. If you can't beat these teams enough to get in, you didn't deserve to get in with or without Jack Hughes.
Yeah, which actually scares me because maybe I was listening wrong last night or not paying attention, which is completely possible. But it's those games against the Chicago's and teams like that that scare me more than playing against people like the Winnipeg game that I was at 2 weeks ago, a week ago, whatever the hell that was.
A couple Fridays
That
ago, yeah.
was that was and I don't want to pile on the kid, but that was a Simone Nemeth show as far as that being a
Yeah.
disastrous game, and that was just a
Mm,
full team failure.
yep.
The look on Markstrom body language wise was just evident beyond belief. So that's a good game that they can show response. Winnipeg's fighting. Minnesota's fighting. We get Minnesota essentially in the back to back. Home and
Yep.
home, which is a weird home to home Minnesota. Like that's
Yeah,
not like a
totally.
home to home that you would think. And even if whether or not the Rangers are in or out of the playoffs when we come to April 5th, it doesn't matter. It's Devils Rangers, and you can even say
Yeah.
similar with the Islanders at 1:00 on the 13th. It's a local team, and there's going to be local representation there. So it's like, you know, uh, it's tough. and it's so weird to not even consider Boston being in the playoffs. But with the nature of the East, though, this is like fighting, not in a playoff spot currently, but fighting for one. The Boston so Boston's seventh in the wild card standings, but they're 4 points out of that place. That's a swing that can happen easily. I mean,
Absolutely.
even as a stretch, Pittsburgh is 6 points out. So it's not like these teams are locked to not make the playoffs either. It's
Yeah.
like the only one that I would say that's a lock to not make the playoffs are Buffalo with 58 points, and they just beat the Vegas Golden Knights, like I said on earlier in the show. It's insane. And then you look at the West, right? Vancouver's got 73 points, so we play them, so they're in the playoffs. It's St. Louis, Calgary, and Utah. I almost called them Utica because of the UTA. Utah, and I almost did it again. Utah's got 71 points. Under them, it's Anaheim at 65. So the West is a little bit more clear cut when it comes to the playoff race. But the East, forget it, man. Like it's like who would have thought that Montreal would be fighting for a wild card spot at this point in March?
They're so like up and down this year, but there's like the ups have been so up that they're like still alive,
Which is wild. It's going to be a wild stretch going into April. Like this whole month,
Yep.
if you love hockey, this month is going to be a month to watch a lot of hockey, because not only are our New Jersey Devils, fighting for our playoff lives, but there's so many teams fighting. Like it's going to be, the playoffs have already started for including us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, potentially 9 teams in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Which is
Absolutely.
nuts. The playoffs have started. The playoffs have started. It's kind of like election season.
Have.
Election season starts the day after the election.
Exactly.
It's kind of like the playoffs right now.
And like Ottawa feels like a lock, but like I said, a 3-game losing streak for them or a team like Minnesota in the West could like derail them. It feels like whichever team in the East, Philly and Buffalo are dead. Pittsburgh's probably dead. But from Boston up, whichever one of those teams goes on a 4 out of 5 streak at the end of April is going to be the team that gets in. That's
not for nothing.
Feels like that's how it's going to be.
Toronto and Tampa have 81, with Ottawa having 77. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Ottawa could take over a second or third spot in the Atlantic. Like it's not like that's Tampa just lost to someone. Philly. Tampa just lost to Philly in a shootout. So it's like you never know.
Can you discount Tampa or Toronto getting hot even and passing Florida, who's lost 2 in a row? It's great.
You can't. You cannot.
Nuts.
It's insane. I feel like the West is pretty much, and again, Vegas is first in the Pacific in the West with 86 points, and then they go out and they have a 2-game losing streak against Buffalo and Detroit.
Yep.
It's like,
and if you ask Connor McDavid, can you win the division? He'll say yes. With Edmonton being 4 points behind
they've got
them.
82 points. They're 4 points behind them. It's insane.
Only 2 things are a lock in this league right now. Washington's going to win the Metro, and Winnipeg is going to win the Central. Everything else is up in the air. There's nothing. And the San Jose Sharks are the only team in the NHL mathematically eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs. And Chicago will be next. Chicago will be next, and so will Buffalo. Buffalo probably will be too. I don't know the math on their tragic number, but it's coming. It's definitely coming.
They have 58. They have 58, so they're in a better spot than Chicago. They're right there in Nashville. They're right there in Nashville. So if Buffalo's eliminated, then Nashville will be eliminated too.
Absolutely. But if there were 2 teams I wouldn't want to be long term, it'd be Buffalo and Nashville. Blackhawks are building something. They're a little ahead in the rebuild. Buffalo and Nashville still need to figure out what's wrong. The Blackhawks and Sharks both figured out what's wrong, and they're on the rise again now. Where those 2 teams, they're still tearing down. It's crazy, especially Buffalo. Like Nashville had a run; they were in the final. They make big moves. They're having a tough year. Buffalo, man, where were you last time Buffalo made the playoffs? I was definitely in
Uh,
high school.
when was there a cup run the
2011.
last time?
No,
2011.
2011. Yeah.
Oh, I was well out of college. The series the series that stands out to me is the Devil Saber series. What was that? 95, 94, 95, when it was the
Mm,
Brodeur versus Hasek series. I
yeah.
mean, that goaltending matchup was insane. Like it was to the point, if some of our younger listeners, don't remember, may not remember a day. Vinny, you may not really remember the days of the tie, but there was a game where the Devils and the Sabres tied, and it was a 0-0 tie. And Brodeur and
Wow.
Hasek were both ones to keep the pucks from their shutouts, so they sawed the puck in half. Each of the goalies got a half of the puck from the shutout game because it was a 0-0 tie through overtime. That matchup. I'm going to sound like, get off my lawn, like old guy right here. Uh, there is nothing like that early 90s, like 92, 93 to 2000 era of goaltending, because everyone was different.
Absolutely. No, you're
Everyone had
right.
a Everyone was insane. You had everyone from Hasek, Potvin, Waugh, Brodeur. You had it was just it was nuts. Mike Richter, still the traditional stand up. You had all these goaltenders. You had Jaya Shiger coming in.
Yep.
It was probably the best era of goaltending, in my opinion. It also is the era I grew up goaltending, but that's neither here nor there. It was nuts, and it's been a while for the Buffalo Sabres, and unfortunately, this is not their year once again.
I think you're spot on with the goaltending too, because when it started to like come up there in the mid '90s, we were coming out of an era where like scoring was just off the hook. Gretzky and
Hmm.
Lemieux, and the Paul Coffey and guys like Yager. Um, I'm forgetting a big one. Messier is the one I was trying to think of.
Yeah, F him.
They were there. A lot of their career, yeah, totally. A lot of their careers were up against guys who were wearing newspapers for pads. And then here comes
Hmm.
Martin Brodeur and Dominic Hasek and Patrick Waugh. Even like the early stages of Henrik Lundqvist were like the big part of it when he won the gold medal
Yep.
with Sweden. Um, and then I do think there was another wave of like highly elite goalies with the Carey Prices and Tuukka Rask and
Hmm.
Jonathan Quick, and Lundqvist kind of fit that era too, I would say. And then I don't know if skaters with their speed start like all the goalies are probably like really really good, but I think the forwards and the defense have kind of started to match it a little bit again, so it seems a little more balanced. I wonder if we'll ever get to that point, because like who's the best goalie in the league? Hellebuck, Shesterkin. A lot of people think Sorokin's probably in the mix. Not this year as much, but UC Saros is in. Markstrom has been in the mix in the
Hmm.
recent past, but like nobody screams Hall of Fame to me outside of Hellebuck and Shesterkin right now.
And there's a difference between today's goalies and more modern goalies, and in that mid '90s era. That mid
Mm-hmm.
'90s era was you had Mike Richter, who was traditional stand up. You had Felix Potvin, who was just a wild butterfly. You had Patrick Waugh, who was basically the originator of the butterfly style. Marty Brodeur, who was a hybrid of the two. All of these awesome goalies. Eddie Belfour was more of a traditional stand-up. You had Cujo, who played deep in his net. All these goalies were phenomenal, and they all played different. Today, you watch the goalies; everything's the same the way they play. Everything's the
Yep.
same. All their pads look the same. All these goalies that I just mentioned too, from the mid to late '90s, all had different styles of pads, different companies of pads, and they all had their own uh, innate flair to their gear, which isn't
Mm-hmm.
really around right now. So I that's why, to me, like the mid to late the early to mid to late '90s was the era of goaltending. Mike Vernon was in there. You had Chris Osgood, who was still wearing the old um, Cooper combo, which you would never see today. It's just there was differences there, and it was a wild time for goaltending, and it was a wild time and a phenomenal time to learn to play goalie as well.
Absolutely. And I love the conversation that's sparked here just by the Devils playing the Blue Jackets and playoff implications and,
Yeah.
leading to talking Buffalo. It leads us to talking about goaltending. Really quick, and people, get your predictions in the chat right now. It's that time of the show.
Yes, let's do it now. Let's do it now.
If you're not busy tomorrow, watch the game between the Blackhawks and the Kraken. I want you to lock in on Spencer Knight.
Ooh.
And I've watched Spencer Knight play before. Obviously, he's been with Florida. The Devils have played him. I think the Devils faced him both times they played Florida this year, if I recall correctly. And I
I
remember
can't
when he
remember.
was
They may have, yeah.
he was Jack Hughes' teammate with the development program. Like I feel like I've been a fan/follower of Spencer Knight since the very beginning for him. But there's one thing I noticed a little more watching him in person. The guy plays the puck every single opportunity he gets. I
That's
think he
Martin
leads.
Brodeur.
I know, and I love it.
That's the
I
legacy
love
of
that he plays
Martin
in my
Brodeur.
backyard. I know, I love it. And
Ron Hextall
I'm
started it.
watching.
Ron Hextall
Brodeur
started it.
perfected
Marty perfected it.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm watching. I'm like, I never noticed on TV how much Spencer Knight plays the puck. It's like it's like having a third defenseman. And I
Yeah.
looked it up. I'm like, oh, he's one of 6 goalies in the NHL with multiple assists this season. That's not that surprising. And if he can only get better as time goes on, and he's also like super elite at stopping the puck. Like he's been amazing. Listen, I'm super
Yeah.
stoked that Spencer Knight's in my backyard. He's not on the Devils, so he's not on my favorite team, but he is on the
Yeah.
team I cover, and
You get
I'm
to watch
super
him.
stoked to continue watching him play because is he awesome. Spencer Knight, man. If you get it, watch him play the Kraken. Now I say that he's going to get shelled and give up 7 to the Kraken tomorrow, but just watch him how he plays the puck. It's unbelievable. It literally is like having Brodeur back there, the third defenseman. It's nuts.
Dude.
It's nuts.
Back in the 2010, 11, 12 era of the New Jersey Devils, there was an ongoing bet every single season. Who was going to have more points, Martin Brodeur or Cam Janssen?
That's amazing.
That was
Cam
their
Janssen.
yearly bet. Who was going to end the season with more points, Marty or Cam?
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
That's so
that
amazing.
Shows you have a puck moving goaltender.
That reminds me. You ever watch the TNT panel before
Yes.
Wednesday night hockey, or like they're on the weekends too? It's Biz, Paul Bissonnette, Henrik Lundqvist, Anson Carter, Liam McHugh's the host, and then they have Wayne Gretzky too. It's those 5. That's like the main. Every now and then someone will fill in someone's out, but that's the main 5. And they ranked them on a graphic by career points. and Lundqvist has like 30 more points than Biz.
Oh gosh!
And Biz is just sitting there like, really? You're really gonna do this to
That's
me?
awesome.
Like, that is just so funny. The goalie has more points than Biz. It's just so funny.
That's one of those things where a stats guy was just like bored one day. Was like, let me look who has the most points, and was like, oh, you guys need to look at this and not tell him.
Yes, absolutely. And then you remember Anson Carter scored 30 when he was on a line with the Sedins, and it's like, oh, Anson Carter was actually a pretty good player when he was with Vancouver. But Biz being a forward having less points than Lundqvist it's very funny to me. Very funny.
Joey
so
B.
Do we have?
Here's my Guinness. My Guinness, Joey. Here's my Guinness. All right, let's get to these scores there, Vinny.
Absolutely. While I'm pulling it up and getting ready, I was so locked in on that conversation. I never even pulled them up once I told people to start doing it. So, Short Sky, what do you think is going to happen in today's game? And then I'll read off some people's scores.
All right, Devils Columbus. I'm assuming we're going to have Jake Allen starting in net tonight. Honestly, it doesn't matter. This team has to win regardless of who's in net, regardless of who's in this lineup. I know there was an optional skate the other day, and 9 players skated. Jake Allen was one of them. So I am going to say the Devils are going to come out tonight. They're going to play hard because the Devils play hard against teams that are good and better than them, either equal to or better than them. I'm going to say the Devils are going to win this game 5-4 tonight in Columbus, Ohio.
I love that little high scoring action.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. I'm looking at the chat and I see that. So Joey B's odds for tonight's game, he's calling you a drunk and me fat. So thank you, Joey B. What are the odds Vinnie makes? I would love to actually make some green chocolate chip cookies. That would actually, if the Devils win, I'm considering it.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if they have Cold Stone ice cream in New Jersey.
They do. Oh, they do.
Oh, they do. Okay, they have Lucky Charms for St. Patrick's Day. Your boy might go on one of the intermissions or after the game, depending on how it goes. So we'll see.
There you
We'll
go.
see. Selecta Boy says 4-3 Devils. RME says 4-2 Devils. Joey B 5-4 Devils in overtime. Brooke Amanda 3-0 Devils. Brian says 5-2 Jackets.
I
Now
think
I see
Rippy's been
Joey
going with
asking
the
me what's on
reverse.
the menu. Yeah, hopefully, just a little bit of
Yeah.
reverse psychology there. I don't have anything.
Yep.
I think we're more corned beef for being St. Patrick's Day. That's the menu. AJ Visco 5-3 Devils. Let's see. Lawrence 4-3 Devils.
Yep.
Michael
Mike
Rossi
Rossi.
4-2 Devils. Brat breaks Scott Stevens' assist record. See,
Could
I
happen tonight.
really hope
It could
that
happen tonight.
happens. I'm super stoked for Brat that he's in that type of conversation. Being the all-time single season assist leader would be really, really cool for Brad. And if you would have told me Brat would break it before Jack Hughes, because I do think Jack Hughes has a 60-plus assist season in his career, probably more than once. He probably would have did it this year. But,
Well,
yeah, very cool.
there's always
My
next year.
prediction, there is always next year. My prediction, Devils win 3-1. 3-1 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's what we're looking for.
And Samu has predicted a typical Samu score of 9-2.
9-2. 9-2, says Sam Wu. That rhymes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed today's show. Long conversation about the stuff that just derived from the Blue Jackets playing the Devils and them being being like a 4-point type playoff game type deal in the regular season late.
This is why we just have to go live one day and be like, and the podcast just be Vinnie and Shorts Guy talk.
We'll name the show like Vinnie and Shorts Guy Talk About Life, or just something so plain and simple like that. And the logo, like, one half will be the Irish flag, one half will be the Italian flag.
Seriously,
so stupid.
You'll be talking with your
amazing.
hands the whole time. I'll just be drinking and yelling at you. What could go wrong?
Absolutely, it's going to be amazing. Thank you
You
to
are
everybody
welcome,
who
Joey
watched
B.
in the chat.
You are
Joey
welcome.
B. Thank you for tuning into today's show. We had a lot of interaction today. Very excited. Brian said, "Go Cody Glass." Agree with that. And thank you to everybody who watched. Make sure you tune into Devils After Dark after the game that was. For Shorts Guy, my name is Vinnie Parise, and as always, let's go Devils. I said it right this time.
Yes, you did.